The story of this Essex theatre is a story of survival. Opening, closing and reopening multiple times over its 113 years of operation shows the dedication and appreciation of the Palace Theatre in Southend-On-Sea. Opening in October 1912, it was named the Palace of Varieties in November of that year and changed to the new Palace in December. It was a modern building by the standards of the day, with claims of a clear and uninterrupted view from any seat in the auditorium. It had an original audience capacity of 1,500 and an orchestra pit which could house 20 musicians. In its early years, the theatre presented a show that was the forerunner of the TV talent show Opportunity Knocks. In 1919, the theatre was bought for £25,000 by Mrs. Gertrude Mullio, with the intention to open the theatre as a cinema. However, with the steep circle rake, an annex at the back of the stage was constructed to house the back projector, in order for better sight lines for the audience. It was a tight and fiddly process with the back projector, and the annex is still there and can be used for the performances of today. Famous faces who performed at the Palace in its early years include Ivor Novello, Dame Sybil Thorndike and Dora Bryan. By the 1940s, the theatre suffered from financial difficulties, which led to Mrs. Mullio presenting the theatre to the Southend Corporation, on the caveat that it could still be used by local drama societies. The Palace Theatre Club was set up in 1957 with the aim to encourage interest in all aspects of living theatre, and, in particular, the Palace Theatre. The club continues to this day and in 1969 helped save the theatre from permanent closure due to a worsening financial crisis. A 2,000 signed petition, 1,400 letters of support and a protest march through the streets were presented to the council, and as a result the Palace Theatre Trust was set up, registering the theatre as a charity and creating the task of forming a repertory theatre company. The building attained Grade 2 listed status on the 23rd of August 1974. In 1980, an opportunity arose to obtain the adjoining building. With help from John F. Dixon, owner of the Dixon's independent department store in Southend, the Dixon Studio was established to widen the Palace's appeal. The adjoining building now forms the foyer and bar area. The theatre was rewired and renovated to its Edwardian grandeur from 1986 to 1987, in time for its 75th birthday. In March 1999, the Palace was forced to close due to a lack of financial support. The theatre, however, didn't stay dark for long, as by December of that year, the theatre reopened under new management and with a production of A Christmas Carol. The Palace Repertory Theatre Company was set up around this time, performing at least 5 in-house performances a year. The first ever Agatha Christie Theatre Festival ran at the Palace from May to July in 2001. All of the writers' work was shown, which included a special Sunday performance of The Mousetrap, performed by the West End cast. April 2003 saw the Palace merge with the nearby Cliffs Pavilion, creating Southend Theatres, as well as the dissolving of the Palace Repertory Theatre Company. This was after the Palace closed in 2002, before it closed again in 2005 to 2006. HQ Theatres took over the running of the building from 2006, which enabled multiple renovations. In 2014, Their Royal Highnesses, the Prince of Wales and Duchess of Cornwall, attended a gala performance of the Shakespeare Schools Festival, celebrating its 15th year as well as commemorating the Bard's 450th birthday. In 2021, and after the initial difficulties of the COVID-19 pandemic, the running of the theatre was passed over to Trafalgar Entertainment. Trafalgar Entertainment is the UK's largest specialist regional theatre operator, with theatres in towns and cities from Glasgow to Eastbourne. For our price comparison, and correct at the time of recording, ice creams are provided by Marshfield Farm and cost £3.40. Ticket prices vary on productions. On my day of filming, the stage was set up for a youth theatre junior production of Shrek the Musical. The palace has a current capacity of 603. The stalls has 247 seats, which includes 3 wheelchair spaces and 3 seats for carers. The circle is split into the dress and rear circles. The dress circle has 176 seats, with 72 seats in the rear circle. And there are 108 seats in the balcony. The stage of the palace is reputed to be the steepest in the country, with a scale of 1 in 18. Raked stages help sight and sound from the audience's perspective to improve the illusion of perception. Many famous faces have tread the boards at the palace. David Haig, John Hannah and Ross Kemp all began their careers at the palace, with Gary Oldman, Caroline Quentin, Pierce Brosnan and Kathy Burke all performing here early on in their careers. And although Southend actress Dame Helen Mirren has never tread the boards here, she has remained a constant support and advocate for the palace. Backstage, there are 5 dressing rooms for the main house. They have recently been renovated, which includes these new mirrors with a heating function to avoid steam on the mirrors, as well as built-in Bluetooth. Substage, there is an orchestra pit which can fit 15 musicians and their instruments. And rather than building up, the pit was dug down in order for a bigger capacity. There's a separate room specifically for the drums. The theatre's green room includes this water cooler with foot controls. The Dixon Studio can accommodate up to 98 audience members in flexible formats. There are 2 dedicated dressing rooms, especially for the Dixon Studio. Performances were suspended from September 2023 due to an all-too-familiar story in theatres and buildings across the country. Reinforced autoclaved aerated concrete, or RAC for short, was discovered in the roof. Popular from the mid-1950s, RAC was a cheaper and lightweight alternative to reinforced concrete, as well as being more fire-resistant. However, deficiencies from RAC were starting to be observed from the 1990s, with concerns heightening in 2018, when a RAC roof collapsed at a Gravesend primary school. The government raised concerns in 2023, which led to checks of buildings where the materials might have been used. A crash deck was installed underneath the ceiling to catch any concrete should it become loose. As no lights could be affixed to the deck, self-supporting lattice-work metal columns were installed in order to support lighting fixtures. Despite being deferred for around 2 years, the roof is to be replaced. The provisions of the crash deck enabled the studio to reopen in November 2023. Surviving multiple challenges and succeeding against the odds, the palace holds a special place in the heart of Southend and its community. Thank you for joining me on this tour of the Palace Theatre. If you're ever in Southend-On-Sea, make sure you come on down, see a show and support your local theatre. A huge thank you to all the team here for showing me around today. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe as we get to explore more theatres around the UK. And my next question to you is, which theatre should I visit next? Let me know in the comments below. I'm David Burchhardt, and I'll see you on the next stage.